keeping that.
Oh, no. So you just came here and thought you were going to watch a quick highlight reel and bounce out. Nope. Hit that bell. Hit that bell and subscribe. I got all day. No, I don't. Roll the highlight.
Pose in the face of pressure.
So much.
So welcome to the 5th episode of the Round 3 Prediction Show. I'm Rayfield, your host. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how things go if you haven't been here before. So we do a deep dive into the main event, into the co-main event. I give you my 4 most confident picks on the evening. I give you my underdog lock, and then I give you just a couple words to kind of chew on for the week, I guess you can say. All right, so let's get right into the main event. Going to start with Lerone Murphy. He was born and raised in Manchester. He's a former footballer, which, for those of you who don't know, they call soccer, football, basically everywhere outside of America. So he was basically a prodigy, and he trained with Stockport County, FC United, and he had trials with Liverpool. That all ended at the age of 16 with a knee injury. He was shot outside of a barber shop in 2013 in the face and neck. Obviously survived. He now has prosthetic teeth, and he still has fragments from the bullet in his tongue. He went 4-0 as an amateur. He made his pro debut in 2016 for the FCC fighting promotion. He's unbeaten as a fighter. He has 1 draw, and his last win was over the UFC newcomer Aaron Pico with a very impressive spinning back elbow, as you just saw at the top of the video. So let's get into a little bit of his skill sets here. So offensively speaking, he lands just over 4 significant strikes a minute. He's 53% accurate with those strikes. A lot of that has to do with his in and out movement. He's very good laterally. He's very good at evading punches by using his feet. Some of the things I don't like about Lerone's striking is he doesn't have many setups. That spinning back elbow is nice, but he timed it. He timed Pico coming in for a shot. He really didn't set it up per se. He'll throw a lot of naked leg kicks and a lot of naked high kicks. And when I say naked, I mean there's just nothing in front of it or behind it. He's just kind of throwing a kick up there. He's comfortable fighting off the back foot and kind of just circling around that cage side. Not a huge fan of that. He trusts his speed and he trusts his counters, and that's a lot of the reason he fights that way. Defensively speaking, opponents are landing just over 2 significant strikes a minute on him. He does defend 61% of those strikes coming his way. Doesn't always angle off the best whenever he's defending punches. He can get caught midway through or toward the end of combinations that his opponents are throwing, because he's just backing in a straight line. Like we've talked about in previous videos, that's just not a good way to defend punches. In my opinion, outside of his last fight, he's just not that dangerous when he's backing up. So let's get into his grappling. So this is billed as a striker versus grappler matchup, but Murphy's still landing almost a takedown and a half per 15 minutes. So he's not any stranger to the grappling realm whatsoever. He's 54% accurate with those takedowns as well. He attempts half a submission per 15 minutes, and when you're watching him fight, when he's on his back, he's looking for triangles, he's looking for arm bars. If people are shooting in on him, he's fishing for a neck, looking for ninja chokes. I mean, he's not shy about grappling at all. He has very good pressure with his head against the cage. Defensively, he's able to flip the script very well. And what I mean is, if he's getting pressed against the cage, he's able to pummel in and turn his opponent into the cage and get into the advantageous position. So when you're talking about his fight IQ and kind of just like his toughness in the cage, I mean, he's been dropped in numerous fights. I mean, going back specifically against Dan Ige, he was dropped in the very first round and went on to win that fight by unanimous decision. He stays composed whenever he gets hurt. He shells up very well, and he fires back to get out of danger. He'll shoot in on a takedown late in the round to try to steal it as well. Cardio-wise, he's been to 7 decisions in the UFC, 2 of them going a full 5 rounds. Really high level conditioning. I mean, he's constantly posting. You see this guy on social media, super fit, takes care of his body, cares about himself, cares about his career. So I mean, you can never even question that. That's never. He's always ready to fight. Has that soccer background like we talked about, so he has great endurance, very strong legs, really quick and fast kicks, obviously, and just a really strong core and base, and you're gonna see that this Saturday. So we're gonna move on to his opponent and see if he can kind of disrupt and get him off of that strong base. And Murphy's opponent in this matchup is Movsar Evloev. Has a degree in computer programming and law. He earned the title Master of Sport in Greco-Roman wrestling. And his cousin is actually an Olympic gold medalist, Movsar Evloev. Movsar turned pro in 2014 for the M1 Global Fighting Promotion. 10 fights in that promotion. Former M1 Bantamweight champion. Defended his belt twice. Vacated his belt in 2019, actually, to join the UFC. And he has a perfect record of 19-0. Things I'm not liking about this record, though, is he's only fought twice since January of 2024. And that was against Aljamain Sterling and Arnold Allen. And he's only fought one time in 2022 and 2023. So on average, he's only fought 5 times in the past 5 years. And the last finish this gentleman's had was in 2018. So Evloev lands essentially 4 significant strikes a minute, right at 3.99. He's technical with his striking, but it's pretty basic. He throws a lot of winging overhands when he's moving forward, but he's fairly sharp when it comes to countering. He has really good timing with his leg kicks. You can refer back to the Danny Ige fight. He was really busting him up with leg kicks in that fight. The only thing that's not basic, I'd say, in Evloev's striking is he'll just randomly kind of throw out a jump knee. He'll try to time it when his opponents are coming in, but a lot of the time it's really sloppy, and there's nothing, like I said. Just like Murphy, he's not setting a lot of things up. They're both just kind of throwing maybe 1 or 2 punches at a time and really hoping that it lands, or waiting for their opponent to throw and just kind of throwing a hard counter. That's how both these guys fight. So it's going to be a really interesting matchup in that sense. Defensively speaking, he absorbs 2.66 significant strikes a minute, so very similar to his opponent. They have very similar output and defensive rates. He defends 60% of those strikes coming his way. He dips his head a lot, like a lot of fighters tend to do nowadays. He'll dip his head to throw a lot of the overhands, but he's almost looking straight down at the mat. That's the thing. I don't mind if you're dipping your head and you're kind of keeping that guard high and coming across, but he's almost looking straight down, like he doesn't really want to get hit back. Marks up fairly quickly. I having a hard time recalling. I want to say it was the Dawodu fight where he was. I want to say I didn't even see the punch he got hit with, but he had Dawodu's back by 2-3 minutes into the fight, and he had just a big old welt that was on its way to getting busted open right underneath his eye, which it did end up getting busted open later on in that fight. That kind of concerned me a little bit. Just the way he carries his hands, very loose, very low. He's there to be hit with straight shots. And it happens time and time again. I mean, I watched Danny Ige was catching him with shots. Arnold Allen was catching him with shots. Dawodu was catching him with shots. I mean, everyone he's fought, the only fight he really wasn't getting caught with shots was that fight against Aljo. And I hate to say it, his last fight against Aljo was really more of a grappling match. I mean, there was 20 to 25 significant strikes thrown between the two of these guys. I mean, I've mentioned that numerous times in numerous videos. I am not a fan of fights like that. That's just not my style. So let's move on to what Evloev's bread and butter is, and that is the grappling. This guy's landed almost 5 takedowns per 15 minutes, and he's 48% accurate with those takedowns. So he's landing every other takedown he's attempting, he's getting you to the ground. Extremely quick on his entries, specifically with the single leg shot. He has a variety of attacks, but he likes the single leg and he likes the body lock. And from the body lock, he likes to elevate and turn you to one side or the other. That way your feet are out from under you. That way you cannot catch yourself, and slams you down to the mat. It's extremely impressive. He's a very, very strong guy, and he's great at it. But in a 5-round fight, doing that over and over again, I'm not too sure how well that's going to do for your gas tank. He's the type of grappler that he'll let you up just to take you down again because he's that confident in his grappling. Once he secures a position, he'll drop some ground and pound. He's more looking to secure you, more so than beat you up down there, and more so than submit you, like we talked about at the top. This guy's last finish came in 2018, and I'm not too sure if that was a submission or not. I want to say you might have to dig a little bit further back to get a submission win from this guy. So he's really just trying to control the position. He throws boots in really well. They like to call him hooks. We called them boots back in the day. He likes to throw boots in once he gets your back. That's just kind of threading his leg in between yours. That way you can't go anywhere. Defensively, he's very, very smart positionally. He usually doesn't lose in scrambles, and he doesn't accept bad positions for very long. Really, really hard to hold down. But toward the end of fights, specifically in the 3rd round, you can go back to the Dawodu fight. You can go back to parts of the Aljo fight. Definitely you can go back to that Arnold Allen fight and see he's a completely different grappler in the 3rd round. And that's something I'm not a huge fan of. Phenomenal early. I mean, he is a bully, and he's really, really tough to deal with in that 1st round. But as the fight goes on, shots get a little more telegraphed, and he just starts to wear fatigue. Even just in these 3-round fights that I've been watching, he starts to get really tired into the 3rd round, implementing his game plan, which I find very interesting. If you go back to that Arnold Allen fight, like I mentioned a few times, he had to panic wrestle out of a front choke. So I mean, this guy, he's undefeated, and if you look at his last 5 fights, they're all unanimous. But you go and look at these, they're a lot closer than what the records say. When you talk about Evloev's durability, he's been battle tested. He was in a lot of trouble versus Diego Lopez, had to fight off 2 or 3 submissions. One of them was an armbar. I want to say one was a triangle, and I mean, and he was getting busted up against Diego too. I mean, this guy, he's super tough. He's been pushed, he's been beat up. Like I just mentioned, he has this sparkly perfect record, but he's earned it. He's earned it. He's been through some tough fights. He's been through some wars. You talk about his cardio. All of his fights in the UFC have gone the distance, and he's won them all. So he obviously has the cardio to go. I just don't like the way he looks in the 3rd round, particularly grappling. He can hang out on the feet and do his thing, and for someone who's known for this grappling pace, he'll hang out just striking for a lot longer than he should. Much longer than he should. But he does not, here it is, he does not have any 5 rounds in the UFC yet. Like I talked about a little bit earlier with his grappling, it's a high energy style. There's just certain fighters who have a process, who you trust going later in the fights because they're not going to burn a lot of energy implementing their game. Can't say the same about Evloev. He burns a lot of energy trying to implement his game. So it's going to be interesting in this fight. It really is. I had to note here, and I hope it's not insulting to anyone who's a fan of him, but just watching him fight, I like to make my comparisons. He reminded me of much faster and much sharper Marvin Vettori. Evloev wins his fights through control and consistency. I wouldn't say he's a relentless grappler, but he's consistent. He's going to shoot 2-3 times around, and he's not going to just shoot one takedown and get in on your hips and give up. No, he'll chain to the next one, or he'll just hang out there on your hips along the cage and keep jumping from side to side until you make a mistake. He'll kick at your legs and try to knock you off balance. That's the kind of fighter Evloev is. He has no problem making it a boring fight. People boo, and he doesn't care. He does not care at all. he will stay right there and just hang out on your hips. So let's get into how these two match up. So the UFC goes back to London this weekend, and at the top of the bill, you have two undefeated fighters, Lerone Murphy versus Movsar Evloev. And I'll tell you what, for as long as this fight lasts, which I hope it's a while, it's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely great. Just the build-up is going to be awesome. I know it's been a little bit quiet, but the closer we get to fight night, trust me, the more the anticipation is going to build, and the more we're just going to be ready to see who's ready to fight for the belt next. Because I feel that's what the winner of this fight is going to get. So, comparing the two of these gentlemen, I feel you have Evloev, who's extremely consistent with what he tries to do. He's very effective with what he does. Like I said, his striking it's not the best, but it's technical enough and it's serviceable enough to get him to where he wants to be, and that's on the ground. So a lot of his striking is kind of a get away from me type striking, or just I'm going to touch you just to get in on your legs or get in on your hips. On the other side, you got Lerone Murphy, who I feel is a sneaky good grappler in his own right, but who we've seen lose minutes on his back and get taken down by people like Danny Ige, and just, quite frankly, get dropped by people like Danny Ige and get dropped in numerous fights. Yeah, he's got the highlight reel knockout in his last fight, but has he really faced a grappler who's going to be like a dog on a bone the way that Evloev is? And I'm not sure that he has. So, ultimately, in this matchup, UFC London this Saturday, in the main event, I'm going to go with Lerone Murphy. And the reason being is the activity. The activity, his last fight, and the defensive grappling. I feel Evloev is going to completely dominate the first 7-8 minutes of this fight. And then after that, it's going to start looking a lot like most of his fights do when he meets a lot of resistance, which is him standing on his feet in the third round, taking deep breaths, and being in a closer fight than what people are making it out to be. Now, another thing about this is Evloev just came off an injury. And not even an injury, more so like an illness. And I want to say it was a respiratory thing or an immune thing that he had going on, because it affected his cardio. He couldn't even do any type of light training. I'll put the quote up here on the screen. So I'm glad that he's back, but this is a gentleman who has not fought since October of 2024, I believe was his last fight. If it wasn't October, it was sometime in the fall. I don't trust that going into enemy territory. Lerone Murphy is going to be in his home country. I don't see it going well for someone who's taken that much time off, who depends on a grapple-heavy game that he doesn't use efficiently. Like I said, I see him starting off really hot, and I see it looking really bad for Lerone like it has numerous times in the past. And then I see the tides turning midway through the second, beginning of the third. Lerone Murphy to win the main event in his hometown, in front of his home people, this weekend at UFC London. Co-main, we are starting with Michael Aswell. Now, I know at the top of the bill I did say that we do a deep dive into the main and the co-main. Well, don't have much to dive into, guys. I like my UFC numbers. These guys don't have a ton of UFC experience. I don't want to use skewed numbers, so we're kind of just going to talk about these gentlemen. We're going to match them up at the end, and then we're going to make a pick. That's what we're going to do. All right? Michael Aswell, 11-3 record, 55% finish rate. He's got 6 knockouts. And then the other half of his record, he's got 5 wins by decision. All 3 of his losses are by decision. He's never been knocked out, so keep that in note. He's 25 years old, and he's out of the 4-ounce fight club. So offensively speaking, Aswell likes to throw combinations. He comes forward. Aswell's not the fastest guy, but he's got decent timing. He has a nice, strong counter hook. He has a nice, strong counter straight left. The thing about Aswell is I feel he's going to be so outmatched in the speed department, and that's going to be evident very, very quick. He sees shots well, but it's like he still doesn't get out of the way of them. That's what blows my mind. Like you can see him, like he's got good eyes. He's looking at everything. He's there, but he's not getting out of the way, and he's just taking these punches flush. He's got a great chin. I mean, Balaji Oki landed over 150 significant strikes on the guy, and he was still staring at him in the third round and still throwing back. I just don't like how much this guy slows down in the third round. He's still going. He's still throwing, but I mean, he looks like a different fighter in the third round from the first. So on to his opponent, Luke Riley. 12-0 record, 75% finish rate with 9 knockouts. Fights out of Next Generation MMA out of Liverpool, and he's over there with Patty and Molly Meatball, and that's his crew. He's gone the distance 5 times, and that's including his amateur career. So talking about Luke Riley striking, extremely, extremely fast. Throws combinations, will open up with barrages of punches when he feels he has his opponent hurt. But defensively, he keeps that chin high, just like his buddy Patty. Don't like that at all. When he's throwing punches, he looks like our buddy Lonnie Kavanaugh from a few weeks ago. It's beautiful to watch. The technique is there. I mean, he's turning punches over. It's textbook. Like, if you want to learn how to throw a punch, go watch Luke Riley throw a punch. It is picture perfect. But just defensively speaking, I mean, this guy, before you go and put the mortgage on Luke Riley, just keep a note, he was dropped with a counter right 3 times total within 2 fights. Okay, you ready for this? Callum Walsh, coming in on short notice, dropped him twice in the first round in their fight. All right? And if you want to watch what Luke Riley is really made of, you need to go back and watch him versus Alexander Loof. Because that fight, I was just kind of going back and watching random fights through his regional tape. This fight was amazing. This fight was UFC level. So if you want to go see the level that this guy's at, because he got hurt in that fight and he fought through a lot. This undefeated record was earned, man. It was not given to this guy. He went through some fights on the regional scene. All right, so go back and watch some of this guy's tape, but also be careful with how much you're going to be putting on this guy, okay? He's the kind of fighter, and you don't see it often. It's a little bit opposite to Ashwell. His punches get stronger and faster as the fight go on. They're just as fast, and if not faster, in the third round than they were in the first couple rounds. And that I absolutely love about this kid. Solid chin, like I mentioned, dropped numerous times, but he was able to recover. I mean, he was out of it and dazed in a couple of those fights, but he was able to get his wits about him, and he came back like a storm. I mean, this guy is the definition of a fighter. Whatever they got going on over there at that gym, I mean, they're doing it right. That key vulnerability is that right hand, and Aswell does have a good right hand. He does. So when they're exchanging, which they're going to, I doubt there's going to be any kind of grappling. You see, I didn't talk much about grappling because neither one of these guys really choose to grapple. I've seen hardly any offensive grappling from either one of them. So when they start throwing in the pocket, watch Luke Riley's left hand drop a little bit and watch Aswell's right hand come over the top, because that's a possibility. All right, quick picks. Chanel Dreyer versus Ravina Oliveira. We're going Chanel Dreyer. Shamrock versus Abdul Karim. We're going Shamrock. Montez Castrovicius versus Tricoli. We're going Montez Castrovicius. Louis Sutherland versus Brendo Perisic. We're going Louis Sutherland. Nathaniel Wood versus Lucine Kita. Lucine Kita. Mason Jones versus Axel Souza. Going back and forth on this one. You guys got me now. I'm going Mason Jones. On to the main card. Danny Silva versus Curtis Campbell. I'm going Curtis Campbell. Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm going Christian Leroy Duncan, but he should not be this big of a favorite. I don't care how bad Roman Dolidze's back is. Iwo Baranuski versus Austin Lane. I think this is Austin Lane's first fight at light heavyweight. I didn't know he was still fighting. I'm going to go with Iwo. Don't worry about Iwo's last fight. I know everyone's freaking out about the little firefight. He learned from that. It's not going to happen again. Iwo's the pick. Michael Venom Page, MVP, versus Sam Patterson. This is another one. I'm not going to let you guys get me on this one. I'm going MVP. Luke Riley versus Michael Aswell, when we just talked about. I'm going Luke Riley, but be careful with him. Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy in the main event. And we're taking Lerone Murphy to win in the main event in his hometown at UFC London this Saturday. All right. Now, I'm going to give you my 4 most confident picks. And if it's your first time here, or if you just haven't been to this section before, what I do is I give you my 4 most confident picks on the card, and I always promise you to at least give you one of those fights to be a main card fight. So, first most confident pick, top of the card, Chanel Dreyer over Ravina Oliveira. I don't feel Ravina Oliveira should even be in the UFC. I want to say she's fought like 2 times in the past 2 or 3 years. Chanel Dreyer's a phenomenal striker and will probably get her out of there inside of 2 rounds. Castrovicius, I don't think this will be much of a fight either. Tricoli, that's another guy. When maybe it's disrespectful, but when I don't even know people are still in the UFC and they're popping up on cards, it's just bizarre. It's just very bizarre. So give me Castrovicius over Tricoli. Going Iwo over Austin Lane. I don't think Austin Lane will be in the UFC after this fight. And the last most confident pick is Lerone Murphy in the main event. Now, for round 3's underdog lock of the week, I got to give a shout out to my boy who's been rocking with me from the beginning here. One of my first couple videos, I want to say, I put out, he was commenting on it and giving me, showing me love. So shout out to UFC Dog Picks. I'm rocking with one of his picks this week that I like for my underdog lock of the week. He does a underdog lock show and just kind of goes through dogs. I'll throw his little tag up here, give him a little shout out. And he knows his stuff. And I agree with him on this one. I did a little bit of research on it, and I may do a deeper dive video on it. But without further ado, the round 3, I'm going to call it my round 3, walking with my UFC dog pick of the week is Louis Sutherland. So that is going to do it on my take for UFC going back to London this Saturday. We got a treat in the main event, man. We really do. It's not often that you get 2 undefeated fighters at this point in their careers fighting for these stakes. I mean, it's awesome. Usually you'll see 9-0, 10-0 fighters kind of fighting on the prelims, right? I mean, it hardly ever. I mean, I can't remember the last time we had 2 undefeated fighters in the main event. I'm super excited about this card overall. London always puts on a really good show. And remember now, this is an earlier card too. I can't remember, what is it? I think, 2 o'clock is when the prelims start in the afternoon. So, make sure to keep that in mind with whatever plans you got going on. But yeah, in the main event, I feel Lerone Murphy is he's going to weather the storm like he always does. I don't think coming off a year and a half and going across the world to fight someone in their hometown is gonna bide well. So Evloev's gonna look great early, and then I feel like just all the inactivity is gonna catch up on him, and it's gonna show. So that's Lerone Murphy is my pick in the main event. And in the co-main event, I feel the speed of Riley is just going to be a little bit too much for Aswell. The speed and just the precision with his punches. And it's just the tenacity that kid has. I mean, he gets hit, he might get dropped, like I told you, but man, he gets back up and he gives it to you 10 times worse. So those are my picks. Lerone Murphy in the main event, Luke Riley in the co-main event. And yeah, I'll see you next time in round 3.